right, everyone. These are the fastest growing Australian e-commerce stores from July. So if you're selling to e-commerce in Australia, you should definitely reach out to these stores. We'll go over the list in a bit. Just wanted to give a quick shout out that this comes from getecommercelist.com. They publish these nice reports which feature every single store that's growing massively across Australia, US, UK, etc. So do check it out so you can see the full list of stores. Now, all of these stores, they are growing either 100% or more compared to last month, right? So we're talking like 400%, 122%, 178%. And if you notice, all of them are on Shopify, right? And we got plenty of products here, lots of variety, which really goes to show that you can grow anywhere, really, in any industry. And there are some very interesting tactics behind each of these stores. So then if we go one by one for through each store, we can see that actually many of them are growing purely on organic, on SEO, on organic social, etc. So you can see these green columns right here. That's organic traffic, all of it, right? So they probably have some like agencies doing really good work when it comes to increasing SEO visits, increasing AI visits, right? Increasing organic media visits. So definitely something to study, right? And then if you take a look, like this is purely SEO, organic social optimizations, right? Because these guys, they had some increases and then they decrease, right? And this is like a very standard industry stores. And then out of nowhere, they just jumped in terms of visits, right? Definitely some things to study here. Then, the same thing applies to this store, the Jersey Nation, right? Sports jerseys, right? And you could have even said, okay, like this is from World Cup traffic, for example, right? But actually, you can see that it was fairly low in terms of visits during the World Cup, and then it just exploded afterwards. So definitely something interesting going on here. And of course, now they started doing some ads. So if I was a paid media agency right now, I'll just go and talk with them and see, okay, how can I help you scale this up further? How can I help you get more out of your traffic, right? Same thing here, like skincare products brand, you know, I take a look and basically flat for the entire year, and then we see the jump here, right? Always with some paid media visits throughout the year, right? I didn't really scale it, so this seems to be really organic growth. So definitely something to take a look. And then the same thing here, like this is actually a very interesting store, this Goldie plus Ace continuously losing traffic across the year, and this started already last year in 2025. And then you can see massive jump. They also started spending money on ads, which they weren't doing before, right? And you can see here like the massive jump in organic. They basically didn't have any month before that had this much traffic. Like they had 4,000 visits in November and just about the same like this month. So definitely a lot of work here, right? And then you take like we see this Euro packaging store, also a very interesting scenario, right? Because they were actually doing like ads, and for some months it seems that it was even like their main acquisition channel, right? Excuse me. And then they just stopped. Their organic stayed mostly flat, and now they managed to finally break through and get a ton of um, organic visits again, right? So this is a very interesting trend, and if I was you, I'll like reach out to them, figure out what's going on, like why did they stop the ads after such a long time? Because it seems to me that they just fired that agency, and now they got the money coming in from organic, so they are willing to probably spend again on paid, but this time making sure it makes money, right? And they have better agency doing this kind of work. Um, then, we have a few other examples here. This electric bike store, exact same scenario, right? You take a look, they had basically all of 2026, they were doing ads, right? And then out of nowhere, no ads. They completely stop the ads and they just go massive, massive investment on organic social, etc. So this is, I would also reach out to them and say, look, you cracked organic, like you cracked SEO. How do we now make the ads work again? Tell me what wasn't working when you were doing them. Tell me why did you fire your last agency, right? And with this, you can get the conversation going and figure out what they were doing wrong and why did they give up on it, right? And then another few example stores here, they have a similar kind of situation. Um, so they were basically just doing organic most of the time. They had some dips here. In this case, they've stayed mostly flat, and out of nowhere, they just went all in on their brand growth, right? So children's homeware, baby bibs, so related industries, and they managed to, first of all, boost organic, right, in both of these scenarios, and then they are spending probably quite a huge amount of money or a considerable chunk of their revenue on paid media, right, which is a very interesting pattern going on here, um, because you don't really do it um, unless you have revenue to spend. So it would be interesting to reach out, figure out, hey, why did you do it? Why did you start spending money now on ads, right? What changed? Is it some a new business strategy? What's going on here? And maybe you could help them out, optimize this further, right? And then lastly, we have these two stores. So just, crafting supplies and outerwear. And then you can see roughly, you know, flat stores and then this increase in organic. This is very interesting for Canada Goose because right now it's winter in Australia and it seems that they kind of their, let's say, winter season, like in the Southern Hemisphere. It was decent and now they managed to get a huge boost in traffic. This could be end of season sales, because soon some will start coming in. Could be something else. Still worth a look to see what they are doing there to get this traffic. And then here, another interesting example. Look at this massive chunk of paid traffic, right? Extremely dependent on that. So in this case, I would actually reach out and say, look, you are spending tons of money on paid media. How do we make sure that organic goes up so it's free, right? And reduce your reliance on paid media because if you start getting bad CPCs, bad CPMs, it's gonna affect your bottom line massively, right? So I'll definitely reach out with that strategy. And again, these are the 10 fastest growing Australian stores, right, for July. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you get some ideas from this and you can investigate these stores further and figure out what they're doing right. Reach out to some of them. Maybe you can help them with their growth challenges. And again, if you want to see these reports in detail, go to getecommerceleads.com and they have all of this data publicly available, which is extremely nice. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.